Hello, boys and girls. So today for our lesson, the materials that you're going to need are a piece of paper, and you're going to fold it in half like a hot dog. You'll need a pencil or a pen, and you'll need a turn and talk partner. This could be a brother, a sister, mom, dad. It could even be a stuffed animal. I'll give you a few seconds to grab all of the materials that you need, and then we will get started. The genre of text that we're going to be reading today is realistic fiction. And realistic fiction are stories that are made up, but they could possibly happen in real life. As we read Picture Perfection today, I want you to pay very close attention to the characteristics of this book that makes it a realistic fiction. You should see things like the beginning, the middle, and the end of the story. You should see characters who act and talk just like real people. You should see a problem that real people might have. And you should see pictures and words that help readers understand the story. Before we start reading the book Picture Day Perfection, I have a question. Have you ever been into a classroom with a jokester? Someone who loved to play pranks or make everybody laugh? In this book, the boy is the class clown and loves making others laugh. Can you think of somebody who might fit this mold in your class? Think about a time where a classmate of yours has played a trick on you in class. As we read today, I want you to think about that person and see if they've done anything like this boy in Picture Day Perfection. So, as we read about this boy, I want you to think about how our characters, thoughts, and actions are similar to that person that you were just visualizing. Before we get started, though, let's take a look at some vocabulary. The first word that we are going to come across today that you may or may not know is hamper. A hamper is a large laundry basket. You might find this in your laundry room at home, or you might even find it in your bathroom or in your bedroom, wherever you might throw your dirty clothes into. Also, the next word will be scowl. A scowl is an angry look on a face. So you might have this face when you stub your toe or somebody does something that makes you feel angry. The next word is queasy, which means nauseous or feeling sick. Sometimes we might turn green, or our skin might turn pale or a ghostly color, and it happens whenever our stomach is upset and we are feeling queasy. Let's get started. I planned for months. This was going to be the year of the perfect school picture. But some days, not everything goes according to plan. The day started with the worst case of bedhead ever. Exhibit A, front view. Exhibit B, side view. Exhibit C, back view. Exhibit D, the look on my brother's face when he saw my hair. Then it took me quite some time to unearth my favorite shirt. I finally found it at the very bottom of the hamper. You might call it stained. You might call it wrinkled. You might even call it smelly. You wouldn't be wrong. Breakfast was Picture Day pancakes, a family tradition. This year's festivities involved a small syrup disaster. Take a look at the image of the pancakes on this page. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to think about what you notice. Do you notice what I notice? I see that the pancakes have a smiley face on them, but I also see that the syrup looks like it's spilled. I wonder what the author's trying to show us through this image. It's important to always take notice of illustrations because it helps us better understand what's going on in the story. Let's keep reading and see if there are any other interesting images that the author gives us. More accurately described as a large syrup disaster. And it occurred exactly as the bus pulled up. I had a feeling we'd be getting a new family tradition. On the bus, I got into a small bit of trouble. Make that a large bit of trouble. The bus driver made me sit in the seat right behind him for the rest of the ride. By the time I got into school, my picture day face was fixed into a scowl. So far, nothing seems to be going right for the boy in the story. Has this ever happened to you before? Where your bad day started as soon as you woke up in the morning? Let's keep reading and see if things improve for our main character. In class, Miss Smith collected our photo order forms. Do you think my mom checked emerald green for my photo background? Or peacock blue? Or pizzazzy purple? No. Once again, of all the backgrounds in the world, Mom checked snoring, boring, traditional gray. No one gets traditional gray except for me. And it just so happens to be the only color in the world that makes my favorite shirt disappear. All but the stains and the wrinkles. Let's stop here for a second. I want you to think about what we've read about the boy so far and all the things that have happened to him. And look at his face. How do you think the boy is feeling at this point in the story? Did you think what I thought? It looks like he's kind of disappointed. Like maybe he's really upset and he's struggling to get through his day. He seems to be pretty upset about the choices and the things that have happened to him. After that, the teacher had us all stand up and practice our picture day smiles. Personally, I thought we needed a little something to get us in the picture day mood. Oops, got myself in trouble again. Let's stop right here. What do you think the boy meant when he said picture day mood? Did you see him sticking his tongue out in the picture? Maybe he thought everybody needed to be laughing so that they had their best smiles on their face. Luckily, I got to rejoin the class in time for art. Art involved quite a lot of paint, or at least it did for me. Wow, when I look at the illustration, you can see his face and he looks very excited. But look at his classmates' faces. Based on the illustration we see of him in art class, how do you think his classmates are feeling? Did you say that you think that they might be a little upset? I see the girl, she's putting her hands up and blocking the paint, and the other boy looks like he's like covering his face because he is shocked that the boy is making such a mess. I don't think that they appreciate the way he is participating in art. Finally, it was time to line up for our photos. Ned, just in front of me, got the last complimentary plastic comb. I watched as classmate after classmate smiled for the camera. I got queasy listening to everyone say, cheese. I can't stand cheese. The mere thought of it turns me green, deeply green. And just as my face reached its most awful pea green shade, it was my turn. When I look at him here, he still looks angry, but he is sweating. And he said he feels queasy, which we know means sick. He also called himself a shade of pea green. What can you infer may happen since he is feeling queasy? Did you say that maybe he would be sick when he sat on the stool? Maybe he would throw up for his picture and make it look terrible? There are so many things that could happen. Let's keep reading. I stepped forward. I sat down on the stool. It was hard as a rock and cold as an iceberg. Just a sec, said the photographer as he fiddled with the camera knobs. As I sat down and waited, everything that had happened rushed through my mind. The monstrous mess, the muddles and the mix-ups, the whole day, from the moment I rolled out of bed, had gone perfectly. Even better than planned. This year, I was finally going to have the perfect school picture. This facial expression reminds me of the Grinch. What does it make you think about the boy? Did you say that maybe he's mischievous or trying to make his picture silly, goofy, or not pretty? That's kind of what I was thinking too. The Grinch tried to ruin Christmas, and it seems like he's trying to ruin his picture day. Let's keep reading. And that's when I heard a click. In a flash, all my hard work, my perfectly tangled hair, my perfectly rumpled shirt, my perfectly sticky face, my perfectly composed scowl, that perfect boring background, those perfect paint splatters, that perfect sickly color, wasted, useless, ruined in a moment of weakness by an unexpected smile. Mom says it's my best picture ever. Let's look at the pictures. Why do you think he was trying to ruin his picture? When I look at this, I see his mom smiling and I see her holding his picture day picture, and he was smiling. And I look in the background, and in a faded frame, I can see a picture that might be from a previous year, and he was sticking his tongue out. It seems like he just enjoys taking silly pictures, if you ask me. But just wait till she sees next year's. It looks like the boy has to wait a whole year to try for a perfect picture. And our last question before we move on into our reading lesson is, what's one lesson that you've learned from the story? I'll give you 20 seconds. Did you talk about how maybe it's okay if things don't always go the way that we planned? Or maybe you thought that the lesson you learned is that it's not always best to be class clown. Let's move into our reading lesson. Let's move into our reading lesson for the day. Today we're going to talk about main characters. Main characters are the most important characters found in the story. They typically go through a conflict inside the story, and they try to find a resolution or a solution to their conflict. Our main character today is the boy, and we were never given his name, but we were definitely given a lot of clues to help us describe his internal traits. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. Today, you'll be describing the internal traits of the main character in our story using text evidence. To help us better understand characters, there are 4 things that we have to look at. We look at feelings, we look at their thoughts, we look at their actions, and we look at their relationships with other characters in the story. By making inferences about a character, we'll be able to better understand their feelings. To do this, we're going to use the chart that you see on the right. Let's do one together. Let's take a look at this excerpt from the story. On the bus, I got into a small bit of trouble. Make that a large bit of trouble. The bus driver made me sit in the seat right behind him for the rest of the ride. By the time I got into school, my picture day face was fixed in a scowl. And remember, a scowl is an angry look. When I look at make that a large bit of trouble, and I look at my picture day face was fixed in a scowl, I can make the inference that the boy was feeling angry. And I know that because he got in trouble and he had a scowl on his face. So we looked at his feelings and we looked at his actions. Let's try one together. Let's look at this new excerpt from our story. What other traits could we use to describe this boy? After that, the teacher had us all stand up and practice our picture day smiles. Personally, I thought we needed a little something to get us in the picture day mood. Oops, got myself in trouble again. Luckily, I got to rejoin the class in time for art. Art involved quite a lot of paint, or at least it did for me. I'm going to point out the text that you should specifically look at here. Oops, got myself in trouble again. If you remember, the boy stuck his tongue out here. And I can see him being very silly with his paint in art class. When I think about these 2 things, he's trying to be funny or make his classmates laugh. What trait could you give the boy? Did you think of silly? I kind of think so too. He got into trouble again, and his friends don't seem to like how he's participating in art. But he was doing it to be funny. You could tell by the look on his face. So this makes me think that the boy is silly. This looks at his actions and his relationship with others. Let's do another one. In a flash, all my hard work, my perfectly tangled hair, my perfectly rumpled shirt, perfectly sticky face, my perfectly composed scowl, that perfect boring background, those perfect paint splatters, that perfect sickly pallor, wasted, useless, ruined in a moment of weakness by an unexpected smile. Mom says it's the best picture ever. When I look at these words and I look at the picture that the author chose to use, it makes me think of a certain word. What does it make you think of? Well, it seems like he was really upset because all of these things that he was trying to ruin didn't work out. And when I look at his face, he looks really disappointed that his plan did not actually work out. Did you think about the word disappointed? I did too. He was disappointed because all of his hard work to ruin his picture was ruined in a moment of weakness. This looks at his feelings and his actions. Before you go and try this strategy on your own, I have one more question for you. And this time it's going to be a multiple choice question. So I want you to get out your piece of notebook paper that you got earlier and your pencil and get ready to write your answer down. Using the page to the left, what does the boy mean when he said that his hard work was ruined in a moment of weakness? A, he got into more trouble. B, by smiling, his picture didn't turn out the way he wanted it to. C, his mom would love his photo. D, he should have worked harder to ruin his picture. I'm going to give you about 1 minute. Did you write your answer down yet? Hold it up. Did you get B? If you did, great job. Give yourself a round of applause. So today we learned how to describe the internal traits of a main character in a story using text evidence. As you read independently today, think about the main character of your story. Follow what the main character says, what they do, how they think, and what they feel, so that you're able to describe their internal traits. You did a really great job today. Before we go and practice describing our main character's traits, we have to find the just right book. And to choose the just right book, there is a strategy. You might remember this anchor chart from your classroom. What I want you to do is open up to any page of the book that you chose. For every word that you come across that you aren't sure of, you'll put up 1 finger. If you put up 0 fingers, that means your book is too easy and you need to choose a different one. 1 to 2 fingers means that that book is perfect for you. 3 to 4 fingers means you should definitely give it a try, but if it's too hard, we can choose a different one. And 5 fingers means that that book is too hard and it's time to find a new book. In order to practice our strategy, there's a few characteristics of books that we have to look for. The book that you are trying to choose for today's strategy needs to be a realistic fiction book. This book will have characters and a conflict and a resolution. Some books that are not best for this strategy would be books like fairy tales, or nonfiction texts, or magazines. So keep these things in mind as you choose the just right book for you to practice the strategy that you learned today. You guys did a great job. I'll see you next time.